All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here with episode 8 of our Taurus challenge.
Is it 8? I thought last episode was 8.
Last episode was actually 7. I misspoke.
Great.
So really, it's episode 8 now.
Okay, great.
And we are here with our Taurus challenge. So Kumbi, why don't you tell us a bit about Taurus season?
Great. Yes. Okay. Taurus season. Taurus season begins at the end of April and moves through most of May. And it is a fixed earth sign. So Taurus is it's the first earth sign of the astrological year. So it's very much about nature. It's about grounding. It's about physical senses. It's about comfort. It's about, it's kind of like self-care to like the maximum. So because, in the beginning of the astrological year, you kind of have to think about it as like the beginning of what it's of like your human experience. So we have Aries, which is like when you're born and there's this creative energy and you kind of come into the world with like purpose and you're growing and you're learning. And it's like a very like, it's like the baby like being launched and delivered into the world. And then we go into Taurus season and it's like the development of your senses and the appreciation of the physical realm, considering like maybe of course, we were coming from a non-physical realm. And so it's this like real, like, indulging in like the physical senses. So like being comfortable, like comfort food, doing things that make you feel great, pleasure, senses, all of the sensational things, all of the physical senses. So unlike Pisces, which is the end of the astrological calendar year, it's all about non-physical senses. Taurus is about physical senses, all of your 5 senses, indulge them, do things that awaken them, that make you feel alive with them. And Taurus people, I have lots of Taurus people in my life, whether they're rising or whether their sun sign is Taurus, but are very like loyal, very stable, very practical, very grounded people. That would be like the gift part of Taurus. Whereas, the shadow side of Taurus would be, maybe like a stubbornness or a stuckness or, a rigidness, sometimes, and also like an attachment to material things sometimes. So all of that is, and it's also, let's see, Taurus also corresponds to the second house, like in your natal chart. And the second house is all about possessions and money. And, so usually like Taurus people have like some sort of like skill with like money or like material things or material objects. And it's ruled by the planet Venus. So Venus is the 4th center. Venus is love and romance and relationships and kindness and compassion and aesthetics and beauty. So it's the receptive, like, energy. It's the goddess energy. It's very so kind of think about like if you combine all of those with Venus, with the second house, with Taurus, it's almost like the Mother Earth, kind of energy, or like the Earth goddess type of energy.
Yeah. I love that.
I know. I think that's probably the best way to explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the metaphor of like sort of the birthing of like Aries is like when you're first shot out into the world. And then Taurus feels like, because with this challenge, as we'll talk about, it's sort of like this like recognition, or it's sort of like this awe and wonder almost, where you're discovering the world for the first time.
Yeah.
And you think about like a baby or a toddler where you're sort of just like, ooh, a sunset, or like just like, experiencing things like you're saying with your physical senses. So I think that's such a beautiful thing. So it's like almost like we're in our little toddler phase now, where we really are taking it all in.
Right. Where you get to like really experience life, like almost like with fresh eyes,
Yes.
But not just eyes, but ears and sight and smell and, like all of and touch and all of the, physical senses. I think it's so great to have an opportunity, like, especially when it comes to, like spiritual development or personal development, to have an opportunity to just to know that being a part of this physical world, like enjoying material things, is actually like okay and should be done. You should indulge in it. just because there's an excess of it in our culture doesn't mean that we should like completely, shun, or shun or turn away from it. It's like, it's really something to be enjoyed and to be grounded in, but not identified with.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Well, let's start in on our challenge and talk a little bit about what we are doing for this week. With our Taurus challenge is all about being in nature, since this is an earth energy. So we are looking at Mother Earth energy. It's very grounding and stable, like you said. And so today, or this whole week, we're doing every day, making a commitment to appreciate nature for at least 30 minutes a day.
Yes, I know, which seems like so minimal, like ridiculously minimal. But I believe that there's probably a large part of our population, if not in this city, who actually like that would be very challenging.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah. I that was one thing that I noted for one of the days. So I'll talk
was
about
it
that.
challenging for you? Yeah.
It was challenging for me. And then to be experiencing it, but then to hear like the rush of the city going by too, with like people not experiencing it.
Right.
It's so weird to be in that like weird dichotomy of, appreciation, but then just busyness all at the same time.
Yeah. I know.
It's but I did find myself having to schedule this into my day,
right?
Which is a little bit crazy too.
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of living in the city, though.
I think so. Yeah, with busy schedules.
I mean, I was just coming back from Colorado, and it's like I always notice the contrast of what lifestyle is like where my family lives versus my lifestyle here, and it's just like in Colorado, it's like you can't not, or at least where I'm from, we're Boulder, you can't not be in nature, like every single day. Everybody is hiking, everybody is out. Like, it's just so beautiful. It's like it feels like you're in the mountains all the time. So, so coming from that to coming back to the city, which I love coming back to the city. I love the contrast. It was like an effort too for me to like, I was thinking like, wow, if I were in Colorado, I wouldn't necessarily have to be scheduling all these things. Yeah. But I definitely do when I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's quite ironic, but anyway, it was a great, I'm glad that we did this because I feel so much better at the end of it, the 5 days, right? So the challenge is we're making a commitment every day to spending 30 minutes, like I said, and this can be anything from watching a sunset to watching a sunrise, forest bathing or hiking, sunbathing, star bathing, moon bathing, enjoying a natural body of water, putting some fresh flowers in your house, gazing at the horizon, planting a tree or garden, or bringing some piece of nature into your home. So each day we just jot down how we're feeling before and after. So looking at how you're feeling in your body, in your energy, in your mind, in your emotions, in your spirit. And you just make note before and then doing the activity for 30 minutes and how you feel after, and then noting any other feelings or thoughts that come up because of that. So
yeah. What I did, which I meant to kind of clarify, and I guess it's just I guess we can talk about what is the easiest, but so in the Calm Mind Strong Body program where we have the the evaluation, or what is it?
The progress tracker?
Is it the progress tracker? I guess it is, where you just kind of number.
Yeah.
So I just did numbers for like before and after.
Okay.
For all the different levels of the 5 levels that we were supposed to check in on. And then I had like a bunch of additional like comments afterwards.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just easy for me to do that kind of number check-in. I don't know if that's just my Virgo brain, but
no, that makes sense. I did like feelings more.
Good.
But I sort of combined all of the energy, the body, the spirit, all of that. I didn't go through like
each one.
Okay. No, I just combined it all.
Okay.
In like different. General feelings.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. All right. No, that's good. The reason why I came up with it this way was because when I did my yoga therapy training and we were doing our pranayama training, it was like, I had never really, when I did that training, I'd never really done breath work before. And so I had no idea how profound of a shift that practicing breath work was going to be. And the homework was like for 2 weeks we were supposed to, or not even 2 weeks, it was like for months. There was like 6 months in between each training. we did these pranayama practices, and you're supposed to check in like before and check in after. And it wasn't until I did that type of check in before and after that I saw, like I actually could see like how significantly different like that shift was. You know, it's different. Like you can like maybe note it or feel it, but I feel like I would forget if I hadn't like actually written it down and done the action of writing it down.
Yes. Yeah. That's good.
So that's where I got this from, basically.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's hear, how was your day one? What did you do for day one?
Okay. So day one was, so like I said, I had just gotten back from Colorado the day before, which was on Sunday. And I felt like I'd spent so much, I'd had such like a fill of nature there that, I was not really, I kind of just was like, I had just gotten back into the city and I just wanted to like be in the city.
Yeah.
So I didn't do anything until at night when I saw the moon, and I saw the stars, and I have such a great viewpoint from my rooftop here that, and I also have a great viewpoint from my bed too, but like overlooking the city skyline. But so I just did some moon bathing. I just did some star and moon bathing, and I mean, it's the funny thing is that what I was notating and on all of these days is that there's always like, unless I have it specifically scheduled, there's always like a little bit of resistance for some reason, you know? And then so I noticed that when I was going up to the roof, I was just like, okay, I'm only gonna be able to do this for like 20 minutes, you know, and then I have to do this and this and this, and I had like all these things in my mind about like the schedule that I was supposed to be on, and every time I go up there, whether it's during sunset or whether it's at night to moon gaze or to stargaze, it's just absolutely phenomenally amazing. I mean, it's not like Colorado where you can really see the stars, but it's just amazing in a completely different way because of the skyline and because of the 360-degree view of everything. And it's like just being so high up in the city, and then having like just the contrast of the city lights with the starlights and the moonlight is, I don't know, was amazing. Yeah. So I'll tell you the numbers from before. So in my body, I was at a 3, and then I moved to a 5. This is from 1 to 5, by the way. In my body, so this is weird because I do numbers things, but numbers for some reason work for me. In my body, I started with a 3, ended with a 5. In my energy, I started with a 3, I ended with a 4. I feel like with my energy, I never really end, like, I was thinking more like high energy, like high vibrating energy versus calmer and like lower energy. And so I always, like, my energy is always calmer after a nature experience. Yeah. In my mind, I was at a 2 because I know I was like really busy and overthinking. And then afterwards, I was at a 5. My emotions were at a 3. I was just kind of neutral emotionally. And then, it's like that state of awe is always is a love, like emotional up leveler, right? Yeah. Yeah. And then my spiritual connection, it was just like at a 2, and I totally went all the way up to a 5 because it's like, what else is there that reminds you of how connected you are to something spiritual?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, so.
I love that.
Yeah. And then let me see.
Did you have any other like thoughts that came up?
This is what I wrote. Every time I go out to bathe underneath the moon and stars, I find myself to first be in awe, then in a state of expansion, then in a state of relaxation. I watch the moon drop down over the city, Taurus moon, and I always try to see if I can feel the energy of the sign that the moon is in. The fact that it is waxing, the place in the body I feel it, the place in the body is associated with. So Taurus is associated with fourth center. So I was just tuning into my heart center, and my Capricorn moon is in need of opening up to the emotional side of the moon. So I try to moon bathe as often as possible. So Capricorn is the opposite, like of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon sign. But so yeah, I have to do this for myself on a regular basis. This is why I schedule it in, like as far as the sunsets. Like this is why I have to make sure I am connected to the moon and the stars some way.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Well, it's funny because I did that last night, but I realized how infrequently I moonbathe or just gaze at the stars. I will look at sunsets. I will go in the middle of the day and hang out under a tree, but I do not spend that much time in the night, in the evening, hanging out.
And you had a good vantage point, didn't you?
And we had a great vantage point.
Did you see the stars? Were the stars out?
We saw some stars, and there was still some light pollution, but it was overall really great. So I love that you do that.
I know. I love it. I love it too. Got to do it regularly.
Yeah. So I did my favorite thing to do, which is lay under a tree.
I
think it's that like grounding
I never
thing.
do that.
Oh my gosh. I have a favorite tree in the park. I have a new favorite tree that I just discovered on Sunday. But my old favorite tree is at this little park by my house.
Do you ever name the trees? Like, do you know how it's like you're supposed to like get to know the trees in your neighborhood, and you kind of like say hi, check in. Yeah, I check in with the trees around here.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I don't have names for them, but I definitely talk to them.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just like feel them and sort of feel their roots, kind of touch the bark and all of that. So that is that's one of my favorite things to do.
Because you're Taurus rising.
That was not, this one was like the easiest one for me to do.
I know, Laura loved this one.
Yes, this challenge, but also laying under trees is really easy. So for me, again, I just clumped it all together, just in general, how I was feeling in my body, energy, mind, emotions, and spirit. And I would say I was feeling a little bit anxious to start. I definitely was feeling, as easy as this is, I was feeling a little bit busy. So I was feeling like rushed, like I sort of had to do this.
Yeah.
It was like a weird energy to approach it with. And I was Monday I was just like overthinking things and kind of lost in my little world. And then I was like, okay, it's like 5:30. I'm going to go do this, lay under the tree for a bit. And the thing I noticed immediately before I even got to the tree was the fresh air. Like immediately when I just started breathing in the air outside of my house, my nervous system completely calmed down. So it was just like I needed to get out of my house more than anything, I think.
Yeah. Do you sometimes stay in your house all day and don't leave?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It's crazy. I mean, working from home now, that's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
So it's like I need to find ways to either work out of the house, go to a coffee shop, do something to like get out a little bit. But it's like, otherwise it's like I'm cooped up, but I don't realize I'm cooped up.
Exactly. And you don't realize it till you leave.
Until you get out. Yeah. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. Yeah, that's the reminder to me. And I try to do like daily walks and things like that, but I had taught in the morning, which was really great. But then I was just like, I got home and I was just like trying to get things like done and just, kind of in my own head. And so it was a great way to just remind myself to get outside, breathe in the fresh air.
Can you walk to this tree or do you drive?
Yeah.
Oh, you walk. Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So, so it was great. And I felt relaxed. I felt really grounded. I felt immediately in my body. I think that's why I love laying under trees, because I just feel so grounded and present in my body. And kind of, very similar words to what you had, like expansive, really connected into my senses. I tried to like really intentionally notice everything, notice what I was breathing in, notice what I was seeing. And then my perspective started to expand a little bit more, where I was just like observing people in the park and observing, the kids running and playing and just having so much fun, and thinking like, I wonder what their story is, like that little family. And it just brought me to like a space of, observance, but also like curiosity and the sense of like
being
connection.
Present. Sounds like being present.
Yeah. And just looking at a family and just being, that's so sweet, and just like my heart opening with that. So
like maybe you could see yourself with the family in the park.
Maybe. I don't know. I know that's been a lot on my mind.
I was totally thinking, I was like, gosh, I wonder, thinking about you as like being like a mother.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know if you have that energy?
We'll see. Yeah. I go back and forth with it.
Yeah.
It's definitely been on my brain, but we'll see.
Huh. So funny.
But yeah. So
I feel like I can't see it.
You can't see it?
Not right now. No, not right now. I can't. No.
Okay.
Yeah. I just see you as Laura, you're just like, you just seem like free and single and like, just like doing your own thing, Laura. I can't imagine you. But you do have Taurus rising, so I'm sure you have that like affinity or that Yeah.
Raising something, like mothering something. I don't know if it's children, but like pets or animal or like plants or something. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So that was my experience under the tree, which was a great one. Yeah.
I love this tree.
Yes.
I know. Well, it's so grounding. Like, even though it's fourth center for Taurus, anything that has to do with like getting grounded, like, I don't know if you bare feet in the park or anything, or bare feet into the tree, then yes, that's like total root chakra.
Gosh.
Like, that's like, that makes you feel so safe and secure and stable. And that's like the best way to get root chakra energy.
Earthing. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So for day 2, what was your day 2 activity?
Day 2 was, as always, on Tuesdays, I always go and watch the sunset. So like literally after our IG live, I know before, but now it's like the sun is setting around 7. So I went up and I watched the sunset, and so my body energy started at a 3, ended at a 5. My energy started at 3, ended at a 4. Mind was 4 to 5. I think I was already, I don't know why maybe I was already in a meditative state. Probably because of the IG Live. I know. Because of the meditation. I'm like, why was I on such a high? Good space. I know. Emotion, same, 4 and 5. Spirit, 2 and 5. But essentially everything went up to the maximum after I watch a sunset. And it's like, and I have to watch like the whole thing. Like it's not just 30 minutes. Like, I love to watch it from like almost when it's like, super bright, but very low. And then I like to watch it go all the way down. And then I love to watch the sky after. Like, the sky after is amazing, like the dusk sky. And then I love, like, last night was also perfect. I watched the sunset again last night, but the moonrise came up right after the sunset. And then the lights on the city went up, and the moon came out, and then the star, it was like a magic show.
Yes, it's so beautiful. Yeah.
It was like a magic show. It was crazy. So this is what I wrote about my sunset on Tuesday. I'm addicted to sunsets because of the way they make me feel. I never think it's going to affect me the way that it does, and it drastically changes my mood, my perspective, my energy. It never ceases to surprise me how amazing it always is. It's like always amazing and always different. I'm the person who is looking around wondering if anyone else is witnessing the beautiful miracle happening right now. Definitely a game changer. I wonder why it's not more of a priority than it is. As far as, I was I was thinking more in like general terms, like, why are so many of us so disconnected from sunsets? It's so weird. It's such a phenomena, and it's so beautiful, and it's so amazing, and it's so miraculous, and it's like, I'm like, why aren't our whole lives just like scheduled around sunsets?
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Like, why doesn't every like building have like a view for a sunset? Why doesn't every restaurant? Why isn't every schedule like? It's just, I don't know. In Colorado, it's like that too. Like, sometimes I have to pull over, like, because I'm like driving, and then you try to take a picture. The pictures are good, but they're never as good as like an actual like sunset where it's like just all encompassing.
I've driven down the PCH before, where the moon was so hot, like just the most gorgeous thing over the ocean. I was like, is anybody else seeing this? Like, what's happening? It's so beautiful.
I know. Yeah. I think that I don't know, but maybe there's a lot of people that just kind of don't notice.
Yeah.
I wonder
too.
It seems like it. Because otherwise wouldn't everybody just like be pulling over and like watching and taking a picture?
I know. I mean, and I definitely was at a space at a point in time in my life when I wouldn't really notice. I think like the overthinking and the hustle and all of that, like the culture we live in is just like, we're not taught how to like appreciate this stuff.
I know.
Or even, I think it's built into us, but it's sort of conditioned out of us to just work or be on our computer or
it's just like this disconnection from nature that's so unhealthy. I think I feel like it's that that nature can be so healing. I don't know if it's like all mystical experiences as far as that I've ever had have come from being in nature, like have come from nature. And it's one of those things I think that people don't realize that it's missing until they experience it.
Until they start experiencing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I think nature has so much to teach us too, that it's like you just don't, unless you're in it, you just don't see it.
Right. And then sometimes people who are really in it still don't see it either, because they're like, it's such a, so this is why I really appreciate the contrast of like being able to go to Colorado and then there's lots of nature here, of course, in LA, but of course it's like going to Colorado, like that's the main thing. Mm-hmm. And then of course my family too, that I noticed is like such a big contrasting difference between my life here and there. And I feel like because the contrast, I love the contrast so much because it makes me appreciate so much more when I'm in when I appreciate it, I notice it, when I'm in that different setting versus like, maybe people who are always in nature are just kind of, take advantage of the fact that they're always in nature and can't really see it with like fresh new eyes all the time.
Yeah.
And then, and the same thing with people in the city, like a lot of people who complain about being in the city, it's like, I wonder, like, can you really appreciate like all the city has, or are you really appreciating all the city has to offer? Like there's so many great things about being in a city, so many more things that are accessible, especially like a big city like LA. So I don't know. I personally love LA. I love being in the city, but I also love being in nature. And then my new friend who's in Colorado, it's like, just all of the text messages and videos of the mountains and of skiing like that's happening right now. It just really makes me love Colorado even more.
Yeah.
Like just being like, seeing it through.
Eyes, someone else's eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I also watched a sunset on Tuesday, and Tuesday was a really interesting day for me because I was feeling so tired and like just had like a really hard time focusing that day. I think I had like a lot of stuff in my brain, like learning new things, which I think is so good to like, once you get over that hump of learning it, but with some of the stuff with the online studio, I was trying to figure it out. And I think I was just like, it was just like
brain overexertion.
It was brain overexertion for sure. Yeah. So I was just like really tired, and that meditation was so great. I felt so much better after that. And I was like, what should I do? Should I just go for a walk? And then I decided I was going to actually drive to Glen Oaks, which is just like 15 minutes from me. It's a little hike, and there's this beautiful outlook that you can watch the sunset over the hills. And it was just, I was like, I'm going to go there by myself and just soak it in.
Yeah. Ooh, that sounds nice.
Yeah. So I would say before I was feeling just really tired and just brain foggy. And then I watched the sunset and I was just feeling so grateful. I really felt like this like cathartic moment actually.
You did?
Where I was just this like really, really high perspective. And I just started crying because I was not only thinking about like, I think I mean, and we've talked about this, but I can be so hard on myself with things. And I just was sort of like looking at my life in like a much bigger perspective of like, look at where you are right now. And where like at one time I would have dreamed of this, like 10 years ago, I could not have imagined that I would be doing what I'm doing and standing on this hillside, watching a sunset in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so it was just this like sense of like, it's going to be okay. Like you're okay. Like you just got to trust, you got to lean in and trust, and that you're doing everything that you can do and take the little steps, and it's all working out as it should. And, you know, it's just like this like feeling of like safety and trust and faith and just this larger perspective, just,
it's the feeling of being supported.
Yeah.
It's like reminds you that you are supported. Like there's like some sort of magic order to the universe when you watch something so beautiful and magical and perfect happen.
Yeah.
Just naturally.
Exactly.
And you're reminded that you're a part of it, like that's the thing that I think that is so interesting about this conversation about climate change and whether or not we are going to survive on this planet, and knowing that the earth is going to survive no matter if we survive or not. And that there's like seems to be some sort of disconnect sometimes with the fact that we are also a part of nature, you know, like we're also a part of like the natural phases of the earth and of the planet and of the universe and of the cosmos. And, you know, so, I mean, of course I'm a big climate change person, but like, I believe in the fact that we can change and we can slow things down. But at the same time, I'm not like, it doesn't necessarily need to be like so devastating if like the human race becomes extinct. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but you know, because obviously like, you know, I have a daughter and I want her to live on into like a beautiful earth. But at the same time, it's like, there's so much more to like, I feel like it gives us like a little, we need to have something that diminishes our sense of overimportance in a way.
From the human standpoint.
From a human perspective.
Yes.
And I think when we watch sunsets and when we're in nature and we see like just the awesomeness of just the natural world, it reminds us of that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
Yeah,
takes us out of the small perspective.
The small perspective. Exactly. That's what I think that word expansive kept coming up for me this week, just because it's like when you're out in nature, when you can watch a sunset, just like, oh, it's going to be okay. Like, it's just like, it just lifts your mind a little bit. You know, like life is really, really beautiful. And of course there's like terrible things happening too. And it's just learning how to, I guess, figure out how you can balance that inside of yourself as well. You know, like living with like the hard, but also being in nature, like this, there's this opportunity, this thing that's available to us at all times to go into and help us find a little bit of relief from some of the challenges. Yeah. You know, of a very real world that has suffering in it.
Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, there's always going to be, you know, that's one of the things that I think that about nature, but just about even the stars and looking up at the clouds or looking up at the moon, is that it's, you know, you can find that anywhere, you know, I mean, even if there's like terrible suffering and pain happening on Earth, you know, like even from our personal perspectives or even from a collective perspective, it's like any one of us at any time, like it's accessible to like look up and like see like that broader, bigger, supportive perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think about like you can find like basically you can find refuge in nature at any time.
At any time. Yeah. I think that's the message, the overall message. Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're like stuck in a cell with no windows or something.
Right. Like isolated for sure.
Yeah, like totally isolated. Yeah. You know, but, you know, and of course, like if we're, you know, physically in that space, then that's when we need to like start using some of our non-physical senses. But at the same time, so many of us are stuck in that cell with no windows that, you know, just of our minds.
Yeah. Self-imposed.
Self-imposed. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a good practice to get into nature and get out of the mind. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Okay, so moving on to day 3.
Day 3. Okay, day 3 was Wednesday, and it was so hot. Do you remember? It was like
it was
it was 92 degrees that day. Which like today it's really hot too, but yesterday was 100 degrees.
I know, it was very hot this week.
Somebody was like, is that normal for April? I was like, is it? I don't think so. No. God, it just seems like it's getting hotter and hotter every year. Well, it is. So I was like, I'm going to sunbathe and get some sun. So I love sunbathing. I'm kind of like a sun worshiper, and I also really believe we're in a great location to get enough vitamin D without having to take supplements, where most of the country is not. I don't know what latitudinal axis it's supposed to be on as far as degrees, but LA, Southern California, is in a place, and I think like Florida too, where we can get enough vitamin D without taking supplements. And vitamin D is like just so important for everything. It's like considered like a hormone, I think. And it's linked to COVID, you know, as far as like, did you, so interesting. So like basically like we have a chronic vitamin D deficiency in most of our population as far as in the United States. And so I try to get at least 20 minutes of sun every day. You're supposed to get 20 minutes of full body, like naked sun every single day.
I love it.
Of course, I can't be naked, but I like because it's the roof. But I did, and I actually was there for an hour, and it was great. It felt like summer. I loved it. Oh my gosh! Yeah. So I was like texting my friend who's in Colorado, and it's like negative 11 degrees, and or 11 degrees or negative. It was just very, very cold, definitely below zero. And I was like, it's 92 degrees here today. That's like such a contrast. Yeah. But it was great. Okay. So I always feel better when I'm in the sun. Body 3 to 4, energy 3 to 4, mind 3 to 5, emotions 4 to 5, and spirit 4 to 5. So I think with I had a little bit low, like I almost felt like I got a little sunburnt maybe. So I wasn't physically feeling so great. And also I was really sore from my classes, but overall, like if I get 20 minutes just in the sun, the sun is definitely a healer. It's a mood booster. It is, don't you love the sun?
I love the sun. And I feel like if it's cloudy for like more than 2 days here, I feel it.
Yeah. I mean, you really get depressed.
Spoiled. Yeah. You're so spoiled by the sun here.
In Colorado, it's like that too, though. They say it's like 364 days of sun. Oh, wow. In Colorado.
In the Midwest, it is not that way. And that's where I grew up. Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, I need to live in a place where the sun is out most of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine living in like Portland or Seattle?
No.
Is it as bad as there?
I don't think
Chicago?
so. Not in Chicago. Yeah, it's not quite as bad, but it definitely is dreary. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For a good part of the year.
Yeah. So, no, I couldn't take that.
Yeah.
I know. So, I mean, I love feeling the heat of the sun. It's like, I'm a total sun worshiper. So what did I write about it? I said, my mood is always improved with the sun. I guess you can say I am a true sun worshiper. I also believe in getting enough vitamin D without having to take supplements, try to balance sun intake so I also don't do too much damage. I mean, sun damage is not great either. So I know. So I have to, so I personally have to be kind of careful with that, I feel like. But other than that, yeah, if I could sunbathe every day, I would.
Yeah.
Do you like sunbathing?
I love sunbathing.
Yeah.
I do.
I
don't do it that much. I do get sunburn, yeah. And I feel like the older I get, the more sensitive my skin has gotten. So I have to be really careful.
Me too.
So I'll try to do it just through walks and stuff.
Yeah.
That's how I get my sun now. So great.
I know. I actually was like in my bikini.
Oh,
like,
wow. You
I know.
Legit.
I was like in my bikini on the reclining chair, like 30 minutes in the front, 30 minutes on my stomach. Like I actually did the whole like sunbathing thing.
You did it.
Yes.
I love it.
I know. It was great.
Okay. So for my day 3, I did bring nature inside of your home.
Oh, yeah.
So this is one thing that I've been trying to be better at because my old housemate used to do this where she would always have fresh flowers in the house. Oh. And it just did something to the home.
Yeah.
And then she moved out and I didn't have stuff in there for a while.
Do you have plants though? Are you a plant person?
I don't have any plants.
You don't?
No, I need that's the thing. I need like real plants. I have like some fake plants around. So there's like green, but I need like real plants.
Yes.
And also flowers. Like that has been my commitment now is that I will always have fresh flowers in the house because it just does something. Yeah. And so yesterday with bringing the flowers in, I felt like there's something to the space. Just how I overall felt was it just feels a bit empty, kind of like a heavier energy to it. And I noticed, through my coaching, we learned this tool called the living space tool, where it's like how your actual physical living space can be a reflection of what is going on internally.
Oh, right. Yes, absolutely.
So it's just interesting how you can sort of learn to describe what is going on in your living space, and you can sort of see how that is playing out inside of your inner world then as well.
So how is it? How is it playing out in your inner world?
Well,
you mean like the outer space is your environment is like a reflection of the inner?
Exactly, yeah.
Or is it and vice versa?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, right. But more so like looking at like an outer space, like your home space and like describing it, like, how would you describe this in like 3 adjectives? And then you see how, okay, with these adjectives, like if I'm feeling like it felt kind of stark and cold and a bit empty, like how is that a reflection of how I'm feeling inside, or in some way in my own life? How is this a reflection of what I'm feeling?
Right.
So
what are the words for you?
That was like how I was feeling, where I was like, oh my gosh,
stark and cold and empty?
No, that was how the hope felt, but just like needing a little bit more life, right? Like just feeling like I needed more like actual life, because it just had felt like a bit like what's the word where things just kind of come to a halt? Like where we just feel like stuck, kind of like
blocked.
Stuck,
Yeah.
So that was like my commitment when I said I'm going to have like life inside of my home.
Yeah.
And that has really helped, just like, I feel like in a sense, bring life outside of me too, with just more exploring, more adventuring, more like,
Great. I'm just so surprised you don't have any plants.
I know, I need plants.
Oh my gosh. I would feel like you would be a plant person.
Really?
Yeah.
I should definitely have more plants.
I was
in my
definitely not a plant person because I always killed the plants. I don't know. Do you have a worry about that?
I think I do.
Okay. Yeah. But I've learned, I mean, I'm still not like a great plant person, but I've learned like today, like my thing that I did today was just did like a revamp of all of my plants as far as like groom them and stuff.
Plants look so good.
But no, but some of them are not doing well. And some of them so they're like children. They're like living entities. Like
exactly.
I'm like I have to talk to them. I have to be like, where do you want to be? You want to be over there by the sun? Is that too much? Like obviously it looks too much. You look stressed out. Should we move over here? It's like, it's definitely work, but it's like really gratifying, like fulfilling, grounding work, which I'll talk about too. But yeah.
Well, and this is where it comes into like this mothering thing, this maternal thing. I was like, maybe that's where I need to just mother a plant for a little bit, or these flowers, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it brightens my space and my spirit by having them. I talk to them. We have little conversations, and it's just something to care for, and it feels more homey and more inviting in my space. I feel like I want to have people over. Like there was a period of time where I was like, I don't want to even have people over. So that I just feel like that was just like a whole reflection of what was going on sort of inside of me too, in a space. So it just feels really great, like warm and open and welcoming. So
I'm just trying to think, like with that exercise you're saying, 3 adjectives that you would describe about your home, and then you would
specific room in you find a specific space. So it's not just your home in general, but like you look at a specific area that you're not really like satisfied with, and you look at it and you describe it in 3 ways, and then you say, how can I
satisfied with?
Yeah.
Versus what about you have 3 adjectives about your space? Does that also relate to what you might be feeling inward too?
Exactly. You find how that outer is a reflection of the inner.
Right.
Right. So that was like what I was really working through here, was I was feeling sort of stuck and unmotivated and cold and empty a bit.
Right.
And that was how I had to like, then you can work your way around like how to figure out how to, create the conditions or create the space with the inner that you want reflected as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you feel like your places that you've lived in, all the different places you've lived in have been different, or have they all been pretty much the same as far as energetically?
I would say, I guess kind of the same. I feel like the thing I'm trying to discover is my personal style, like like how I would really personally decorate a space. I feel like sometimes I don't know. I mean, I feel like you have a very unique, you have your own style. I can tell. I come in here, I'm like, oh, this is Kumbi,
Oh, really?
It reflects you. Yeah. I don't know if you would go to my space. I mean, I think certain areas in my home, yes, definitely. But sometimes I look at it, I'm like, am I like, I don't know if you feel like I have felt before where I decorate, especially my condo in Chicago, I felt like I decorated it based on like how I grew up, like the home I grew up in. So it kind of looked like that. Right?
Oh, that's funny.
Like a younger version, but that's still,
yeah. Like you just adopted your style from your parents, maybe? Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's finding what that is for me, and I feel like it's a very like Zen vibe that I have, but like, yeah, I'm figuring that out. And I just decorated my front room and it so feels like me. And it like feels
Now
so much
it does?
Now it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I think about all the different places that I lived, and they all are such a reflection of where I was at in my life. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because, well, of course it is, but to really look at it from like a more like feeling perspective, it's like the space that I shared with JB is so is like when I think about living in that space that I mean, we lived together for a long time, but we lived in the space that he's still in Atwater for maybe 10 years, or no, wait, not 10 years. Sorry. 7 years. And, but we lived in another space in Hollywood for like 10 years. Oh. And, but when Tiger was born, we moved to Atwater, and that's also when I took over the studio. So it was way more convenient, but it was I felt like when I think about that space now compared to where I'm at now, I felt so cramped. I felt so enclosed, like there weren't that many windows in that space. And I just, now that I live in like a loft space, and I have been for the past 4 years, it's not like anything with like lots of rooms in it is like, it feels very enclosing to me.
Yes.
Even though it's probably not. And, yeah. And the ceilings were lower. I mean, it was more like a house, so with like a yard, and that's like what he wanted. So it was so much more reflective, I feel like, of what he wanted than it was of what I wanted, because I didn't really know what I wanted. I was just kind of like, let's just go be here because it's convenient,
right,
and it's not terrible. Right. But now, since I've had my own space, and that was like one of my big transformations as far as getting my own space and filling it up from scratch, like in my old place in the Walnut Building, was so healing, and was so fun and satisfying and eye-opening, because I was like, what is my style?
Yeah,
exactly. Like, what is like my style? Not like living with somebody else, not considering what their style is or what they would like, which is what I probably just overdid all of the time. But like really just being like, what is my like identity now, like, and how can I express it in my own my own space. And so that was definitely the beginning, and that was not even that long ago. So
I know. Yeah. I feel like I'm still in that space.
Yeah, totally.
That's so funny.
I know. But I'm thinking about like, what would be my adjectives or like my feeling for this space? I mean, it's like, I love this space so much.
I love it. That's great. It's a true reflection of you then.
I think it is. I think this is the space that's the most reflective of me than I've ever lived in before. But it's not exactly perfect. Yeah. I definitely know that there's another, there's another space out there. Another space out there that is looking for me, and I'm looking for it. No, I'm just kidding. But like that I could really make it as like a true reflection. But then it's like, what's a true reflection of you if you're constantly changing and transforming? It's like, I have no idea. Yeah. Like, what if I turn into like some sort of like crazy like witch or something, and like want to have like pumpkins everywhere? I mean, it's like, I have no idea. It's like, who knows? I'm totally open to whatever, because never know what could happen.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. So day 4, what did you do?
Did you? Oh, you did sunset. Oh no, Wednesday you did.
I did nature.
Oh, nature inside your house.
Inside my house, yes.
Day 4 was Thursday, and I actually caught a sunrise because whenever I'm with Tiger and Snowy, whenever they come over here on a school day, I get up really early. And I like to get up really early. Yeah. I mean, I don't always like to get up really early, but when I do get up early, I love it. And so I usually get up like 5:30. I think sunrise is like 6:30 or something. So I took Snowy on a walk, and if you go down a couple of blocks, there's like a really great view of the sunrise over the city, whereas if I'm looking out my windows, it's more like the sunset is over the city. So, so it's a completely different view. I don't even think I could see the sunrise from my roof because there's another building on that side. I don't know. I've never gone to the roof for a sunrise, but I mean, I love it. I love, the feeling of just like witnessing nature just do its thing. You
Yeah.
know, it's like it's the reminder of time passing, that nothing is standing still,
Yeah.
that everything is in motion, everything's constantly changing, and that the perfect, like just the miraculousness of like the perfection of how the sun and the earth and the moon, there's some sort of thing. I remember there's like a fact. It's like the size of the moon and the size of the sun are like directly proportional to each other, as well as the distance of the moon and the distance of the sun from Earth. And, you know, it's like the when you look at the whole solar system and you look at all of the solar systems, I guess, but if you look at just ours, for example, the balance of the way that all of the planets orbit and move, and there's the size of them, their orbit, their gravitational orbit, the distance, the timing, the pace of how they move, it's a gazillion different elements that are moving together in perfect harmony.
Yeah.
It's like, how? Yeah. How is that happening?
Yeah.
Like how, that's just such a big mystery to me. And it's perfect. Like literally if anything were just like even a little degree off or like a little bit further out, you know, it's like it wouldn't move in like the perfect form that it's moving in.
Right.
So just like even the delicate balance of us being here, like alive and having these like exact perfect conditions for us to even be able to survive on this planet is just like, it's ridiculously miraculous.
Yeah.
So that shift, you know, I think we have to always be reminded of, I mean, that's the beauty of like living with nature, is to never feel like you're stuck, because you can never be stuck, because we're constantly in motion.
Yeah.
We're literally like moving through space, like constantly.
Yeah.
So, witnessing the sunrise is like, I mean, witnessing a sunset is probably more convenient because you don't have to wake up so early, but witnessing the sunrise is just, it's like, it's probably the best way to start a day, just because you're literally seeing like how the power of the sun and how it lights up everything.
Yeah.
You know, like that without the sun, everything would literally be dark. Just like when we noticed the eclipse.
Right.
Right? Did you watch the 2017 eclipse?
I didn't. No, I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
Really?
I mean, not live. I saw it like.
But you weren't outside looking at it?
No.
Oh my gosh, it was so crazy.
Yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever seen. I mean, I think it's the first time everybody has, because it hasn't ever really happened in a while. But it was like literally when the moon came in front of the sun and blocked the light of the sun, it felt like nighttime.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was like, what would we do without the sun? We would not survive, obviously. So here are my notes about the sunrise. Body 3 to 5, energy 2 to 5, because I was so tired. Mind 3 to 5, emotions 4 to 4, spirit 5 to 4. I don't know why 5 to 4.
Oh, it went down.
You know what? Because I was like, because the first thing that I do in the morning normally, if I'm not with Tiger and Snowy, is meditate. And so if I can't, because it's like, you know, when you're still in that like sleepy state is the best time. Mm-hmm. And so I think I was still in that sleepy state, meaning like I feel like I was still 1 foot in non-physical and 1 foot in physical. Yeah. So I think that's why I meant it was 5. It went from 5 to 4 because it was like dropping into the physical world.
Yeah.
Watching the sunrise while I'm walking Snowy in the city doesn't always feel like such a natural thing to do, but it always feels like it to me. Just like seeing the light. The beginning of the new day is like a new beginning to everything. At least it's how I see it on the best days. There are days, of course, when you feel burdened by the new day. When the reminders, I guess I got really dark in my notes.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's good. It's real.
When the reminders of the past or future remind you how important it is to be present.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I think coming back to this theme that being in nature forces you or helps you is like a refuge, because it brings you into the present.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about the morning, like especially that early in the morning, is it's so quiet.
It's so quiet.
It's like the world isn't awake yet.
Yes.
So it's just like you can, that's why I like writing at that time, because it just feels like nobody's awake and I'm just in my own little universe here.
Yeah.
And
I know.
Yeah.
I know. My problem is that I am both a night owl and a morning person. So if I ideally could have like a regular schedule, it would be to stay up until at least midnight and to wake up at like 5:30, and then to take like a 2-3 hour siesta around like 2:00. Like, that would be like those, just so I could catch up on my sleep. But that would be my ideal like sleep cycle.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I know. I just love being up at night, and I also really love being up
In the
early in the morning.
Yeah. So I last night did a sunset / stargaze with a friend. So it was nice because it was nice to experience nature with another person. That was sort of my intention with yesterday, where it was like I watched the sunset on Tuesday by myself, which was very cathartic and wonderful. But then we just had this we went to this overlook by his house, and on Mulholland. It was just beautiful. And
were you distracted? I'm always distracted when I'm with somebody else.
Not really. We were talking, we were having but it was good conversation. It was like deep conversation. And I feel like nature played into that,
Inspires
like the element of that. Yeah. Just like sitting there with someone and, taking all of this in, this beautiful view, and then the sunset, and then looking at the stars. It was really beautiful. And we had we had a pretty deep conversation, which was really great. And it was cool to experience it with somebody else. But then there were all these other cars, not a ton, but then there were other people, groups of people that were experiencing it too, but in their own little world. So it was just it was a cool little experience. And then this guy was riding his motorcycle, and he pulled over and stopped and just sat there for a while and took it all in. So it was just a really neat experience to be with other people, taking it all in at the same time.
Right. They were actually paying attention, not just not noticing.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But then that was another thing that came up for me. Just my thoughts was, it was just so interesting to be having this experience and having this great conversation and taking in this beautiful view. And then there's just cars zooming by, and horns and all this sort of light pollution, helicopters going by. And it's just
it's like the city sunset.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was so it's just life keeps going by quick, or the connected to this quote world, the other world that we're living in, where you just kind of get lost in your head at times. So it was just interesting to still have that, but then also be in this moment, to have those two things going on at the same time. So
that's so interesting. Yeah. I prefer to watch sunsets alone. I find maybe it's because I also kind of take it in as a meditation. So I just realize, I don't know what kind of personality this is, but I realize that when I'm with somebody else, I'm very distracted. I can't, I think it's why I like to be alone so much.
Yeah.
Is because, I'm so looking at that person from trying to look at what they're experiencing from their perspective. Maybe that's a clear empathy type of a thing. But to the point where, I don't feel present.
Intrudes on your experience.
Kind of, if that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Obviously, if I'm going to be with somebody, I wouldn't be looking for that. But if otherwise, I don't know. Maybe that would be what I should be looking for is in a partner is somebody that I can watch a sunset with and not be distracted.
Yes. I like that. Put it on the list.
I don't know. So funny.
So day 5, let's hear about it.
Okay, so day 5 was today.
Today, yes.
So I didn't actually do all of the number things for today, because what I did was I think I spent almost an hour grooming all of my plants.
Nice.
Which I never do. So, but I was looking at them for so long and they were bothering me. I was just oh gosh, I have to, just groom them, meaning prune them, change some of the pots, as far as the small ones that outgrow the small pots and put them into bigger ones. And then, and I had to throw a couple of them away. One of them I think is dead. Oh, the one right here by the window, I'm trying to salvage. It's the palm right there, but it's so little. Look, it only has like 2 fronds left. It's so sad, but that's my oldest palm that is dying. So, and I realized why. It's been overwatered. So it was like kind of sitting in some, dirty water for a while, and I don't know why that happened. I don't know how that happened. I think I just wasn't paying attention. So I threw away a couple. I pruned a whole bunch. One of them is like, some of them are definitely on like in ICU and need to be like, super special attention for the next few days because it could go either way for them. So, and in that case, I might have to start looking for some new plants.
From a distance, they all look good.
Thank you. Well, I just pruned them. Okay, so I did. I took away the dead one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's looking much better now. But I mean, they all have such different personalities, and some of them are like so picky about where they want to be that, it's like for some reason they all want to be. These 2 back here, like they're like that's
thriving.
Like the best place for them. So, and I realized like up by the window is like too scorching for some of them.
Yeah.
So I need more like succulent types up by the window, but if it's like a delicate leafy type, it will just get scorched and dried up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just like it's like literally taking care of an animal. You have to just constantly make sure that they're comfortable, that they're not overwatered, that they're, getting enough light, that they're being talked to. And I want to have more, actually. I feel like I want to have more. I want to have more small ones. And especially over by the bed. But, and also I want to have some hanging. I'm going to eventually have some hanging. But I love the, like the fresh, I feel like they clean the air.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels really good in here.
So
yeah.
Good. I'm glad you think it feels good.
Yeah, it really does. It's got a good vibe. Good vibe in here.
All right. But it's so healing. Yeah. It feels so good to work with, to work with plants, to be in the dirt, to feel like, if they're dry or if it's moist, to dust off the leaves, like that's like a whole process. Yeah, it feels really good. I know. So if I don't get to have like an outdoor space, which eventually I do want to have an outdoor space, but if I don't get to have an outdoor space, then I'm always just going to try to get as many plants in my place as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Good.
What about you?
So I did a neighborhood walk and to admire the flowers because there's so many beautiful flowers that are blooming.
Really?
My neighbor has these beautiful rose bushes that are just like, I feel like they're just like shining. They're just
so beautiful.
Oh, they're so, they like grow out towards the sidewalk. Like they want to say hello to you as you walk by.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I love to admire them and I, talk to them and just admire their beauty. I would say, I don't know if it's like from doing this all week, but I was feeling really good, like really grateful, like starting out. And then it just expanded even more after being in nature today. So feels like it's definitely like compounded over the week. Yeah.
Yes, I know. Well, I definitely think that's for sure what happens when you do something regularly for 5 days. Yeah. I was sad that I didn't get to go to a natural body of water. I was planning on doing the beach. I was planning on trying to squeeze in the beach just just to go for like a quick, because this would be like a good excuse, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't get to it and I can't wait to get to it.
I know. I thought about it on Wednesday. I was like, I just wouldn't have had the time, but I know I want that too.
I know when Shoshana was saying, oh, it's just so easy to go to the beach. You just park and you just walk over. It's just like, oh gosh, I wish it were that easy.
Know, exactly.
I mean, it's not that bad, I guess. I mean, how far from Pasadena? It's like an hour.
It's like an hour. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 30 minutes from here, but it's still a hassle unless you know exactly where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like the time of day and all of that.
I know.
Yeah.
We're actually going to go up to Santa Cruz next week, so I can't wait. I mean, it is so nice and beachy up there.
Oh, good.
I know.
Yeah, we'll
Stay by
get
the
to
beach.
take it in.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that part of the challenge next week.
Yeah. Good. Good. Well, that wraps up the 5 days. So
I know. So
it was
overall,
so
overall, it was great.
Overall, it was great. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like if I can have the discipline, which it feels strange to say discipline when it comes to being in nature, but I think to keep this up, I notice it in my overall mood and how I feel. Is it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah, I think it's a good rule of thumb to at least get outside for 20 minutes a day. And whether or not you're doing full body naked sun or just to go catch the sunset. It definitely improves your mood. It definitely improves your health, improves your sense of well-being. I mean, I think for me, I think the most important thing is that it makes you feel connected to something bigger, and it gives you that perspective of that broader perspective, and it makes you it allows you to have like a physical refuge that's always available.
Yeah. That you can learn from.
Even just looking up at the sky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And almost like how small you are compared to all of it. You know, it's
exactly.
It just helps with overall perspective.
Yeah.
And makes life maybe a little bit less scary.
Yeah. Yes. A lot less scary, and a lot, you can see that there's the randomness looks random, but there's actually a secret hidden order to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a method to the madness.
Right. Just
Right?
because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. But
Yeah.
exactly, you can see it.
Yeah.
It's like nature is there for us to show. It's like showing us.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So
Nature as the teacher for life.
yes. Great.
Check this one out, everybody. Enjoy Taurus season. I know I will. And
Taurus
we'll be
rising.
back next season
For Gemini
for
season.
Gemini season.
Right. Get
All
ready for your
right.
mind.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Heartbeat to Go podcast. If you like this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. You can learn more about Heartbeat to Go over on our Instagram or Facebook at Heartbeat2Go, that's the number 2, and sign up for a free 7-day membership over at heartbeat2go.com. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, remember that it's always possible to transform through your challenges.